Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is October 30th, 2023, and the GOAT, Lionel Messi, has won his record 8th Ballon d'Or. Also, Fermin Lopez will be staying with the first team on a permanent basis. And finally, I will be telling you about the next youngster that Xavi is expecting to call up from the reserve team. We have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and this is Barca News' official live stream, which is scheduled on every Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, this is not to be confused with the post-match live analysis, which are usually right after a Barcelona match ends and where I review the performance of the team, versus these live streams where I'll discuss Barcelona-related news. Now, as always, I'll do a segment of news and I'll head to the chat section so I can answer any questions and get a discussion going. And for those of you who'll be watching the live stream when it ends, I will be placing timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you want to skip through the discussion. Now, having said all of that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the kickback. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you hit to Bet Us. Both links for Kickback and Bet Us are in the description. Now, having said all of that, let's dive right in the news because the Ballon d'Or ceremony, which is held by France Football every year to determine the best player in the world for that year, just ended about an hour ago. And the GOAT, Lionel Messi, has officially won an 8th record Ballon d'Or. Nobody has won as many Ballon d'Ors as Messi. Of course, the second place is Ronaldo, who has won 5. And with this Ballon d'Or, Messi pulls away that much more from Cristiano Ronaldo. But of course, this Ballon d'Or is not going to affect much the legacy of Lionel Messi, because after winning the World Cup, he's definitely cemented himself as the best player in history. Now, in his acceptance speech, Lionel Messi dedicated the Ballon d'Or to Diego Maradona, it's his birthday, or would have been his 63rd birthday. So he dedicated that award to Maradona. And another cool thing is that he did mention Barcelona in his acceptance speech. And more specifically, he said, and I will make this bigger for you, I have to take out the logo too. But he said, I couldn't imagine having the career that I've had, everything that I've achieved, the fortune I've had playing for the best team in the world, the best team in history. It's nice to win these individual awards. Now, of course, Lionel Messi referring to Barcelona by saying playing for the best club, and also referring to Pep Guardiola's Barcelona when he mentioned the best team in history. So it's really cool to see Lionel Messi kind of mentioning Barcelona and kind of giving Barcelona credit for all the success that Messi had, because, of course, Barcelona was a big part of the success that Messi has had in his career so far. Now, Lionel Messi, he beat Erling Haaland, who did win the treble last season with Manchester City. Haaland ended up second, with Kylian Mbappe ending third. And, of course, I did mention this in a previous live stream, but I really believe that Messi deserved the Ballon d'Or over Haaland, despite Haaland winning the treble, because unlike Haaland, I don't think Argentina would have been capable of winning the World Cup without Messi, versus Manchester City. I think they would have comfortably won the treble without Haaland. And this is evident because in many finals, Haaland was not there or did not really show up. And he even didn't show up that much in the knockout stages on the Champions League. And again, this is not to knock out anything that Haaland did. He's still an excellent player, the best center forward right now in the world. But I really do think that Messi deserved the Ballon d'Or over Erling Haaland, despite Haaland winning that treble. Now, I do have some interesting statistics because I'm already seeing, all the hate, all the Madridistas, all the Penaldo fans on Twitter saying how Haaland deserved it more. But I did come up this very interesting chart on social media that kind of compares both players. And of course, I will make this bigger for you. But if you compare Lionel Messi side by side with Erling Haaland, Messi has 67 goal and assists to Haaland's 66, with Messi scoring 41 goals to Haaland's 56, but of course providing 26 assists to Haaland's 10. And as far as team awards, of course, Messi won the World Cup. He won the Ligue 1 and the I can't say it in French, but it's the Champions Trophy, or that's what it's called in French in the French league. And of course, Haaland winning the treble. And then, of course, you look at individual awards that Messi won, and it's almost double the individual awards that Haaland won. So for those people who want to say that somehow Messi does not deserve it, or that Haaland is a clear winner over Messi, just show them this chart. Now, the good news does not end there, and I decided to start with this because someone commented on yesterday's video saying, hey, there's been a lot of bad news lately. Are we ever going to hear good news? Where this is why I decided to start with the news of Messi, but more good news from the Ballon d'Or ceremony, because our own Aitana Bonmati won the women's Ballon d'Or, and it was a very special thing to see. Of course, Aitana Bonmati was also part of the Spanish team who won the Women's World Cup. And with this win, that's Barcelona players winning the Ballon d'Or 3 years in a row, with, of course, Alexia Putellas winning it in 2022 and 2021, and now Aitana Bonmati winning it in 2023, who did her part of her acceptance speech in Catalan. And I'm already seeing all the Madrid media just flipping out, like, oh, how dare she speak in Catalan and not Spanish? Absolutely ridiculous criticism. Aitana Bonmati is Catalan. Her native language is Catalan. And to complain that she wasn't speaking Spanish just shows all the hate that exists in Spain towards Catalonia and towards Barcelona players. So I'm really glad that she did that. And she also did thank Laporta and Barcelona for the opportunity to play for the club. And of course, she did slip in that Visca Barça in her speech. So really, really cool moment with Aitana Bonmati, our own Aitana Bonmati, winning the women's Ballon d'Or, and of course, our legend and the best player in the history of our club, Lionel Messi, winning the men's Ballon d'Or. Now let's dive into the chat section, and we'll do some comments and some questions, and then we will talk about some post-El Clasico news. I know that happened on Saturday, but there's still more news to go. So let's see what you guys are saying. And let's see. Ola Amolabi says the GOAT won his 8th today. Yes, he did. Raul says Fermin and Gavi deserve first team than any of the youngsters, where Gavi's already a first team player. As far as Fermin Lopez, I'll talk about him in a little bit, so I don't want to do any spoilers. Raul also says nothing tastes better than Messi haters, tears, and excuses. 100%. Not a good day for Penaldo fans or Real Madrid fans. I've been seeing hilarious tweets and posts on social media of them crying. Oh my God, Messi won. This is corrupt. It's all scripted. It's hilarious. Honestly, it's not a good day for Penaldo fans who are still trying to convince us that somehow goals in Saudi Arabia matter. I don't know. They can have their little Saudi league. We'll keep the best player in the history, who is Messi. Curtis says, oh boy, the Ronaldo Madrid Manchester United fans are angry all over internet. Yes, it's hilarious. That's the whole time I would watch the entire Ballon d'Or ceremony. By the way, horrible ceremony. Every year they keep trying to make it more and more like the Oscars. They had an artist perform a song and all these interview questions and videos, and it's gotten a little bit ridiculous. But I watched the entire ceremony, and the whole time I was on Twitter as well, just watching people just break down, all these Madrid fans and Penaldo fans just break down on social media. Absolutely hilarious, free entertainment. You cannot pass it up. You cannot pay for things like this. All right, my man Ross, my West Coast buddy, says everyone is complaining about what Gundogan said post-match. I kind of agree with him. Thoughts? I spoke about this in a previous video about Gundogan's words. I think the drama is being created by the media itself. There's no reports of any kind of disagreement in the locker room or within the club. And I agree 100% with his words. And, this is just Gundogan kind of putting on that captain bracelet or band. I know armband. He's not a captain, of course, but taking that kind of that leadership position of telling everyone, hey, we just lost El Clasico match against Real Madrid at home in a match where we played better, where we should have won it easily. We need to be angry about this. We need to be more passionate about this. And I agree 100% with him. I think the players really need to be more angry. and show that anger and that frustration on the field in the upcoming matches, because what happened in the Clasico cannot happen again. If this was Real Madrid, that showed up and just completely dominated Barcelona and beat us fair and square, I would have said, okay, yeah, they were better. What can we do? But no, we had the match in our pocket. We were playing better. We dominated Madrid. We scored a goal. We could have scored more, and then we just let it slip. We just said to Real Madrid, you know what? I don't feel like winning today. Here, you can have the match. Real Madrid, up until Jude Bellingham's goal, they hadn't had a single shot on target. That's insane. And yet Barcelona were like, fuck it. Here, you guys can win it. I don't feel like winning today. So I agree 100% with Gundogan. The players need to be angry about what happened, and they need to not allow that to happen ever again, not just against Real Madrid, but against any team. Because if this keeps happening, then forget about it. We're not going to win any trophies. Anyway, let's get back to the news because there's a lot to cover today, believe it or not. Now, let's talk about El Clasico, since we were just talking about El Clasico match, because in yesterday's video, I mentioned that Barcelona had broken an attendance record during El Clasico, where they had 50,000 attendees in the stadium. Of course, the previous record was 45,000 during the Real Betis match, where Barcelona won 5-0. And this was, 5,000 more. So breaking the record, filling the stadium to capacity to 50,000. And I told you that it could be a really good day as far as revenue. And well, now it's been reported how much Barcelona made. And they made 7 million euros from the ticketing of that day, which of course is great news. It's a huge boost for Barcelona financially, especially during a season where we're playing at the Olympic Stadium that has half the capacity of the Camp Nou. So it's really good to see that people showed up in big numbers and that Barcelona were able to make 7 million euros off this El Clasico match. Now, more news about El Clasico, because Real Madrid's Tchouaméni has gotten injured. He got injured during the Clasico match, and he will be out for 2 months. And another thing I mentioned in yesterday's video was the bias in Spanish media. And of course, this was not any different, with a lot of the Madrid outlets blaming Tchouaméni's injury on Xavi, criticizing Xavi, calling him a butcher, a foul merchant, whatever the hell all these things that they call Xavi. And they were blaming him for Tchouaméni's injury. And it got so bad that Tchouaméni himself had to make this post, and I'll make it bigger for you. But he had to, on his own Twitter account, he reposted a tweet or an article by DAZN or Dazen or however the hell you say that, which is full of Madrid reporters who are always, of course, spinning their biased stories. And the article was about, it was an image where Xavi is fouling Tchouaméni, and they're saying that this instance is where Xavi fouls Tchouaméni and Tchouaméni gets injured. And well, Tchouaméni reposted that on his Twitter, and it is in Spanish, but I'll translate it to you. He says, "No es culpa de Xavi, me lesioné al final de la primera mitad," which means it's not Xavi's fault. I got injured at the end of the first half. So this is how bad things have gotten in Spanish media, where Real Madrid players themselves have to come out and defend Barcelona players because it's just gotten so disgusting, where the media, have to blame everything on Barcelona and just completely trash the players, trash the team, trash the club in their articles. And you would think that after Tchouaméni said this, where he said, no, it's not Gavi's fault, I just got injured, you would think that this news outlet, Dazen, or however the hell you say that, would apologize. They did not. They did not apologize. They did not retract that story, which just goes to show that absolute bias and mediocrity of Spanish media and all the attacks that they've been, or the aggression that they've been showing against Barcelona. Now, one more thing, because of course the Madrid or the Spain media has not rested either. After the defeat in the Clasico, they started spinning all these stories that Laporta is not happy with Xavi, that there's a lot of discord amongst the board of directors, that they want to fire Xavi, etc. And I'm here to tell you those stories are absolute false. Again, more drama created by the media outlet, just like the drama with Gundogan. There's absolutely no truth to that. The board, Laporta, they're still happy with the work that Xavi is doing. Of course, they were hugely disappointed with the loss in the Clasico, but nonetheless, they're still aboard with Xavi's projects. They're very happy with him. and they're especially happy with how Xavi is managing the talent from La Masia. I discussed this in a previous video before, or I think it was a live stream, where I talked about how Xavi has done a great job of bringing up all the Barca Athletic players, having them train with the first team since the preseason, giving these players the chance to debut with the first team, whether it's Lamine Yamal, whether it's Marquiu, etc. But giving them this opportunity, help these youngsters develop. And it seems that the board are very, very happy with what Xavi is doing with La Masia. And of course, they're all very much in favor of Xavi doing this, because we've seen when you have someone like Fermin Lopez, who cost us nothing and comes up to the scene and just does what he does, and he's playing probably as good as Bernardo Silva, and yet Barcelona were considering spending 80 million euros on Bernardo Silva, yet here we have our own Bernardo Silva from the academy who cost us nothing. So of course, board are very happy with Xavi's work and very happy with what he's doing with La Masia's talent. Now let's get back to the news, and then we will talk about injuries. I do have an update about injuries, some good news, some bad news. Unfortunately, that's how it works with the club. But, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to give you the news. Klaus says Ronaldo is in the Camel Toe League. Yes, he is. And again, his fans continue to try to convince us that somehow him scoring goals against amateurs is somehow impressive and that he should have won the Ballon d'Or. I saw someone say Ronaldo's the highest scorer of this year because I think he scored like 42 and like Haaland has 41, and that's why Ronaldo should win the Ballon d'Or. I mean, absolutely ridiculous to compare goals in Saudi to goals in the Premier League is just absolutely laughable, which shows you many of these people are not football fans. They're not fans of a certain club. They're just fans of one player. And when you're a fan of a player, you're not a fan of the sport. And when you're not a fan of the sport, you don't understand how the sport works. So you should just keep your comments and your opinions to yourself. Okay, let's see. King City says, Mo, I think we look better with 3 CBs in the team, more balanced, and we defend better. I did like how we defended against Real Madrid, of course, up until Jude Bellingham's goal, because after that, the whole team just fell apart. But I think a line of 3 CBs could work, with Cancelo working more of that job of, I guess, of a winger versus a fullback. My only problem with that is that we only have 4 center backs. So if you're constantly playing 3 at the same time, the rotations become a little bit more difficult. So I don't know if this is a sustainable model, but nonetheless, we did look good overall. Luke says, well, the best in the game, but only God knows what was that, what happens or what happiness? I cried all night and also lost my money as well. Well, I'm sorry you lost your money. If you don't mind us telling us how you lost your money, but I'm sorry you lost your money. Hopefully you can recover it. And Sally says, they bid us fair, stop crying. They better stop crying about it. They have character as a team. We don't. Lewa need to go. He does not fit in the front. Too slow. Okay, let's stop with the nonsense. Lewa's the top scorer of the team. He was the top scorer of La Liga last season. Let's stop with the nonsense. All right. Bolari says Pau Victor is not him. The him is in the academy coming up will be Pau Cubarsi, the Fernandez cousins, Pau Prim, Marc Bernal, Quim Junien, and Juan Hernandez. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's get back to the news, because I do have an update for you about the injuries, and it's reported that Xavi Hernandez will have all the injured players available to him for this upcoming match against Real Sociedad during the weekend, except for Sergi Roberto. So that means Pedri, Frankie de Jong, Jules Koundé, and of course Lewandowski and Rafinha, who already came back during the Clasico. But all 5 of them will be available for selection for this weekend match against Real Sociedad. The only one who will remain on the injury list is Sergi Roberto. And of course, this is great news, because Barcelona has had some pretty bad luck with injuries, especially in the midfield, with both Frankie and Pedri getting injured. But it seems that both will be available for selection for this weekend. Now, this doesn't mean that they're going to play, of course. When players come back from injury, from being injured, usually it takes, at least a match or 2 for them to get back into rhythm. But nonetheless, great news with Barcelona recovering all their injured players except for Sergi Roberto. Now, I did say that I do have good and bad news about the injury list. The bad news is Oriol Romeo. He's not injured. However, There's been a lot of questions about why his form has dipped. Of course, he started the season, excellent form, great signing, but then we saw his form dip a little bit with matches, especially after Frankie got injured. And there's been some question about what's going on with Oriol Romeo. And even though the club has not confirmed this, but there are reports stating that it seems that Oriol Romeo is suffering from knee pain, and that knee pain kind of sets in as he plays and he starts accumulating minutes throughout the match. So like when he goes in, he's fine, but as he starts playing more and more, the knee pain starts to set in and then eventually starts to get worse and worse. And they're saying that could explain why his form has dipped, and that could also explain why we've seen him being subbed off a lot of times around the 60th minute, or in case of the Clasico, why we saw him come in during the final 30 minutes. So it looks like Oriol Romeo does have a knee problem. That's not good news, of course, because when it comes to knee problems, sometimes it takes a long time to heal. Sometimes it requires injury. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully maybe with some rest, some ice, some therapy can go away. But they are reporting that Oriol Romeo is suffering from knee pain. Now, speaking of the pivot position, since we are talking about Oriol Romeo, it's reported that Xavi Hernandez and the training staff are considering using Gabi in the pivot position as a temporary solution in case Oriol Romeo does need to rest or does need, some time to heal. Because, of course, we saw Gabi play in that position in the Clasico match. He did a phenomenal job. He pocketed Bellingham. He completely canceled out Bellingham. And it's reported that Xavi and the training staff were very impressed with Gabi's job in the pivot, and that they could consider using him as a temporary solution. Again, temporary solution. This would not be forever. This just be in the meantime, because they're very impressed with the job he does. And guys, I got to tell you, man, you have no idea how blessed we are to have such a guy like this, who not only is incredibly talented and incredibly passionate, but the way he can play in every position. We've seen him play as a right interior. We've seen him play as a left interior. We've seen him play on the left wing. Now on the pivot position, I mean, I have no doubts that if you give Gabi some gloves, he'll play as a goalkeeper and he'll still do an amazing job. That's just how great of a player Gabi is. And we're incredibly lucky, incredibly blessed to have someone like this on our team. And to think that some people were commenting on my videos earlier this season saying that we should get rid of Gabi, that he wasn't good enough or he was overhyped. It's crazy. It's crazy. I got to tell you, this, some of the comments I read, sometimes I'm like, what? Anyways, but let's get back to the chat section, and then we will talk about Fermin Lopez, because I do have some news about him. And let's see what you guys are saying. All right, we have, and I'm sorry if I butcher your name, but Abiudun, who says, watching from Germany, first time to watch the live stream. Good job, Mo. Thank you for watching. That's pretty amazing. I think you're the first person from Germany to leave a comment on my live stream. So welcome to the live streams. Hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully join more. I always love people when they tell me that it's their first time on the live stream. Let's see what else. Ola says, I think Barca took a lot away from that loss, and I know we will come back stronger. We have been learning from our mistakes all season, and I think that is what is making us stronger. You know what? That's a good point, and I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking about this the other day, and I was saying, the way all the players reacted, Gundogan saying that the players need to be more angry about the defeat. Lewandowski said he was very disappointed with the result. Frankie de Jong, he said he was disappointed with the result. Gabi, he was crying after the match. And, maybe there's a silver lining here. Maybe this was a loss that we needed to incur. That way the players can really wake up, can really feel that anger, feel that passion. And maybe this will be kind of like the fire that gets lit under the players, and that will help us get better. I really hope that's the case. I think we saw this with Real Madrid. I think it was 2 seasons ago, where they weren't really doing too hot, and they lost El Clasico match against Barcelona. And after that, they just like, that was a wake-up call for them, and they completely started doing much, much better, and they ended up winning the league. I think this was 2 seasons ago. I think this was when Xavi first took over, and Barcelona won 4-0. So that's kind of what catapulted Real Madrid into winning the title. So hopefully that's what happens with our team. Hopefully this loss, just wakes up a passion or a fire in players, and then we can see the team get better. All right, let's see what else. Boom, 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 boom. Rafael says the kids are too many in the team. We need to buy experienced ones too. Also boost the hidden talents of the young ones and also teach them too. I think I'm happy with the balance that we have. Yes, we do have a lot of young players, but we also do have plenty of experienced players. We have Lewandowski, we have Frankie De Jong, who, believe it or not, he's 26 years old now. It's crazy how time flies. We have Ilkay Gundogan, we have Oriol Romeo. We have Sergi Roberto, even though he doesn't really play, but everybody talks about his role in the locker room and in the trainings, constantly helping the youngsters, mentoring them. We have Marcos Alonso, who I did also talk about in a previous video, who even though he hasn't been playing much this season, he's also been a big mentor to the youngsters. We have Mark ter Stegen. We have some good experienced players that can help those youngsters develop. It's not like it's all just youngsters. I think it's a good balance, to be honest. And we have, some pretty good players who are in their prime, because you need all three categories, right? You need young players who have the energy. You have veterans who have the experience, but not necessarily the energy. And then you need prime players in their prime who have both. And we still have players in their prime, like Rafinha, he's 26, Christensen, again, Frankie De Jong. So I think we have a good balance of players from youngsters to veterans to players in their prime. All right, let's get back to the news, because speaking of young players and talented players, let's talk about this guy, Fermin Lopez, because it's reported that Xavi Hernandez has spoken with Barca Athletics coach Rafa Marquez and has told them that he doesn't want Fermin Lopez to play with Barca Athletic anymore. Now, as you already know, Fermin Lopez is actually a Barca Athletic player. He has been training exclusively with the first team. He's been playing matches. He's been called up to every squad list with the first team. He did play a few matches with Barca Athletic. The most recent one was during this last international break, of course, per the player's request, because most of the first team were off. Players were off with their national teams. So Fermin Lopez didn't really have much teammates to train with, so he requested to train with Barca Athletic. He played a match with Barca Athletic. The same happened during the first international break, where again Fermin Lopez requested to go back down, trained and played a match with Barca Athletic. Unfortunately, he was shown a red card, but nonetheless, he is a Barca Athletic player who has been going back and up and down between the first team and Barca Athletic. And now Xavi has made a decision that Fermin Lopez is not going to go back down to Barca Athletic anymore. He wants him as an exclusively first team player. And of course, great and huge news for Fermin Lopez, who's been doing spectacular this season. I mean, he is the perfect example of what determination, of a perseverance, of working hard looks like, because last season he actually left the club on loan. He was sent out on loan, and yet he comes back from loan. He impresses during the preseason, where Xavi starts to call him up to the first team. He gets a few matches during the beginning of the season, but then he kind of dissipates, continues to work hard, comes back even stronger. And now we've seen his match in the Clasico, the match against Athletic Club de Bilbao, the match in the Champions League. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. I think, and I can assertively say this, Fermin Lopez is for sure on any day, you can start this guy in any tournament against any team. No doubt about it. I mean, this is no longer a guy who you can have as a reserve, someone who can maybe, substitute for someone when someone's injured. No, absolutely not. I think Fermin Lopez could easily start every single match, and we would not be disappointed. So huge news for Fermin Lopez. But let's talk about, since we are talking about young talent, let's talk about one more player, which Xavi Hernandez is expected to call on from the Barca Athletic, because of course, we all know Marc Guiu came on in the match against Athletic Club de Bilbao, scoring that winning goal. And Xavi was kind of depending on him to be Lewandowski's substitute, someone who can rotate with Lewandowski. But as I mentioned in the previous video, Marc Guiu has been called up to the Spanish team. Of course, there is the Under-17 World Cup that's about to start next month in November. I think it's set to start in 10 days. It's in Indonesia. And 8 players from Barca Athletic have been called up to their national teams to participate in this World Cup. So Marc Guiu is not going to be available for the next month as the World Cup goes on. So, of course, Xavi's now left without a substitute for Lewandowski, a natural substitute for Lewandowski. So it's expected that he will call up on Pau Victor. Now, I did talk about Pau Victor in the past. In case you don't know who he is, excuse me, he is a 21-year-old striker who plays for Barca Athletic, of course. He's currently on loan from Girona, and he's been doing really good with Barca Athletic. He has scored 6 goals and provided 2 assists in only 9 matches. So that's 8 goal assists in 9 matches, almost a 1-to-1 ratio. He's been doing so good that Barcelona are even considering keeping him at the end of the season. He does have a clause of 3 million euros, so not a lot of money. Barcelona are considering activating that clause. Now, given Marc Guiu's unavailability because he's going to be in the World Cup, it's reported that Xavi could be calling up Pau Victor to the first team. Of course, he was called up before. I can't remember which match it was, but he was called up in a match before. So we could see him, participate more with the first team as Marc Guiu and 7 other Barca Athletic players will be participating in the Under-17 World Cup in Indonesia. All right, let's get back to the chat section, and then I do want to talk about one more thing, not Barcelona related. Well, kind of it is, but let's do a few more comments, and then we will wrap it up. All right. Hermani says we should permanently play Gavi as a pivot. I don't know about that. I think, Gavi's a great interior. He knows how to combine well with his teammates. He knows how to make those runs to the box, how to create plays. A pivot is someone who mostly stays behind. Gavi is really good offensively, so I think it'd be a waste to have Gavi there. I mean, does he do a great job? Sure. Same as Araujo or Koundé. They do great jobs on the right as right backs, but they're better where they shine the most as a center back. So I think it'd be a waste of his talent to have him just as a pivot. All right, let's see. Norman says, hey, Mo, I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm a #1 supporter of FC Barcelona. I just love Barca. I would love to be a brand promoter here in Zimbabwe. This is my team for life. I don't know how I can have direct contact with Barcelona. The best way to do it is through either their Instagram account, or if you go on the website, I think they do have a contact email if I'm not mistaken. So, if you want to send them an email, maybe include a portfolio, something like that to show them your kind of work. I think that would be that's what I would do, to be honest. All right. Corey says, I think Xavi made a few mistakes with his changes, but hopefully he'll learn from them. I've heard this before. A lot of YouTubers are saying, it was the substitutions that killed the team. I don't think so, because the team started playing like crap from the beginning of the second half, right? The substitutions didn't come until the 60th minute. And by then, the team was already playing bad for 15 minutes. So I don't think it was the substitutions entirely. I do disagree with the substitution of Fermin Lopez. When Xavi took out Fermin Lopez, that didn't make sense to me, because Fermin Lopez was the best player on the field up to that point. So taking out your best player did not make any sense. I understand that Xavi perhaps wanted to give more defensive solidity to the midfield by bringing Romeo, who's more defensive. In that case, maybe take out Gundogan and put Romeo, and we could have kept Gavi and Fermin as the interiors. So I do agree with that mistake, but I don't think that's what cost us the match. The team was already playing bad before the substitutions even happened. Okay. Armando says, do you believe Kimmich would sign for Barcelona? Nope, there's no money for that. Rafael says, don't you think Lamine is too young to be starting? I think he's to be playing like 10 minutes. I don't know about 10 minutes. I think maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes is fine. And yes, he is too young to start, but that's why he hasn't been, he started a few matches, but overall he's been just coming off the bench. So I really think they're doing a good job with Lamine Yamal. The last thing we want to do is a repeat of Pedri under Koeman, where Koeman just wore him down to the bone, playing him 90 minutes of every match in every tournament. The same with Spain, and now we're seeing the price of that, right? That's why Pedri is constantly getting injured, is because how he was played his first season. So I'm glad that to see Lamine Yamal only being used for 20, 30 minutes in a match, because he is too young. He still needs to develop. So I think they're managing his development in a good way. All right, let's do one last thing, really brief. This is not directly related to Barcelona, but it does affect Barcelona, because in case you don't know who this is David Lopez. He's a Girona player, and in the match against, I think it was Almeria during the halftime, this is something new La Liga are doing, where they interview players during halftime as they're making their way into the tunnel, kind of like American sports. So during the halftime in the match against Almeria, David Lopez was interviewed by a reporter, and he completely put the referee on blast. He said the referee was disrespectful, that he was arrogant, that the referee insulted him. and he said that the referee was doing a bad job. And of course, this didn't sit well. In football, you're kind of not allowed to criticize the referees. The Football Federation tried to protect the referees. So because of his statements, of course, there was, a lot of uproar. Him and Girona, David Lopez and Girona were asked to retract the statement. Of course, David Lopez did retract his statement. He apologized in public for his statements. And then today, the Committee of Referees, or the CTA as it's known by its Spanish initials, decided to forward David Lopez's words to the Royal Spanish Football Federation for disciplinary actions. Now, the reason I bring this up is because it is the correct thing. He shouldn't have put the referee on blast like that, and it is the correct thing to discipline him for what he did, for blasting the ref like that in public. But my problem is that Vinicius Jr., in a Clasico match, called the referee crazy to his face a bunch of times. And that was not the first time. He's done that over a dozen times, constantly yelling at referees in their faces, calling them crazy, doing this too, like, yeah, you're crazy, insulting them, screaming at them. Not a yellow card, not a red card, no disciplinary actions, no let's forward his words to the Royal Spanish Football Federation, absolutely nothing. Ancelotti has called the referees, and I can't remember what match it was, but a post-match press conference, he came up and said that the referee was, that he did a horrible job, completely put up the referee on blast. Not a single word. Last season, though, a player from Valencia, I can't remember his name, criticized the referee in a post-match press conference, and he got a 4-match ban. And now David Lopez, we don't know what's going to happen to him, but the CTA has already forwarded his words to the Royal Spanish Football Federation. So my question is, why is it when Real Madrid players or coaches criticize referees, put referees on blast, absolutely nothing happens to them, but when every other player does it, they get fined, right? Lewandowski did this and got suspended for 3 matches. But Vinicius Jr. screams at referees, calls them crazy to their face. Nothing. Completely fine. So this is why I bring this up, because this just continues to show the total bias and incompetence of Spanish football authorities, where there's clear bias towards Real Madrid, where Real Madrid players can say and do whatever they want. They can punch other players in the face like Valverde did, and yet no actions. But when other players do it, they do get punished, which they should get punished. But here's the thing. You either punish everybody or you don't punish anybody. But you can't do this whole, we'll punish everybody except Real Madrid players. That's absolutely unacceptable. But yet, they still tell us that this is Negreira's league, that Barcelona bribe referees. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And I can't believe this continues to happen, but welcome to La Liga, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so that's all the news for today. Wow, 38 minutes. There's a lot to cover. Can't believe I got through it. But let's do a few more comments, and then we'll wrap it up. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Valerian says rotation to goalkeeper. Iñaki Peña. He's our second goalkeeper. Goalkeepers don't really get rotated that much because they don't get tired that much because they're mostly standing in their place. But yeah, Iñaki Peña is our second goalkeeper. Let's see. Vara says I personally think Gundogan needs rest. Maybe, yeah. I think Cancelo and Joao Felix need more rest, and Gavi than Gundogan. But I mean, now that Frankie and Pedri will be available for selection, I think. Do you guys still hear me? Because for some reason my internet just went down. Anyways, if you don't hear me, please let me know. Or I guess if you do hear me, please let me know. Okay. It shows that the signal is back. I don't know what happened when my internet just went down for a few seconds. But anyways, Klaus says, is Noah Darvic doing well? Yes, Noah Darvic is doing really well. And he actually has been called up by Germany. He is German, right? Yeah, he's German. He's been called up by Germany for the Under-17 World Cup. Okay, let's see what else. I think you say that Zexin. I would like to know your opinion on Julián Araujo, a Mexican, so I may be biased. So I would like to know what you think. Okay, so Julian Araujo is currently doing really well with Las Palmas. There are a lot of positive reports of him in Las Palmas. I talked about this in a previous video, but Bojan Krkic, who's just joined Barcelona's, board of directors or governing body, whatever you want to call it. And his job, part of Bojan's job, is going to be to monitor players who are on loan to see how they're doing, whether they're improving. That way that Barcelona can know, okay, when they come back from loan, are we going to keep them or are we going to sell them, right? And Bojan Krkic's job will be to fly to Las Palmas to watch Julian Araujo in person, because the club has been receiving a lot of positive reports. Now, if Julian Araujo can continue doing well until the end of his loan, then Barcelona are considering him as a very much viable option for the right back position, whether to rotate with Cancelo or in case we can't sign Cancelo to be, in Cancelo's place. But that's the news. Okay. All right. Klaus and Ross and me, everybody confirming they can hear me. So that's good. Yeah, I don't know what happened. My internet just went poof for a few seconds. At least the live stream didn't end. Okay. Let's see. One more and then we'll wrap it up. Abiodun says just that we need a good striker who can score more goals. We have Lewandowski, guys. And we have Vitor Roque coming in the winter. And we have Margiu. And we have Pau Victor. We have good strikers. Don't worry. All right. Ross says Barca should sell Rafinha for that 70 mil to Newcastle and sell Romeo for any amount ASAP. Rafinha, I've been saying they should sell him, but unfortunately Xavi likes him. Romeo, I wouldn't sell him. We got him for 3.5 million euros. And we've seen when he plays with Frankie de Jong, the two are just unstoppable. So no, I wouldn't sell Romeo. All right, that is it for today. Thank you guys for joining in. Sorry about that little hiccup with my internet connection. But thank you for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions. I will see you in tomorrow's video. And as always, be scars.